This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. While everybody was following the fake news, the feminist movement of Hollywood, the Harvey Weinstein, and all of these actors, TV anchors who were getting outed by females as they pushed the feminist Me Too movement in Hollywood, everybody was buying into it. Oh, they're cracking down on all these scumbags and sexual harassment, and all this stuff was just getting pushed day in and day out. Nickelodeon somehow managed to brush this right under the proverbial rug. That is Dan Schneider. Some of you might be familiar with him. He is a high-ranking person at Nickelodeon responsible for dozens of shows, was given a Kids' Choice Award for, not that those awards matter, but, Lifetime Achievement Award, and is a guy who has been accused countless times, at least rumored to be involved in pedophilia, in hiring young children, abusing them sexually. He's got all types of perverted, disgusting photos on his Twitter account, where kids are showing them their feet, and he's posting it. He's got some type of weird foot fetish, which is just really repulsive as it is, but kids' foot fetish. And Nickelodeon was starting to get heat from some media outlets who weren't in the mainstream because people were asking them why, in the name, with all the stuff that's going on with Weinstein back in October and November, how come nobody was addressing Dan Schneider? So quietly, about a month ago, they decided to quote unquote part ways. His reputation was never, in question. They never addressed the allegations. They just said they parted ways because more and more people were calling this guy out. Because these high-ranking people in Hollywood, they're not just pedophiles, they're traffickers. They prey on children, and most of them are high-ranking Satanists. That's how they get in position to be a top-ranking executive at Nickelodeon or at Disney. They're not there by chance. They're not there just because, they had a good resume and they went and applied for a job, and now they're suddenly doing this stuff. It's so disturbing to even look. You go to this guy's Twitter page, just look at these pictures, hanging out. These are grown men, 40 years old. They're posting pictures hugging 8-year-old girls. It's not like they're hugging their daughter. It's just because, the girls on the TV show, he's hugging them and kissing them and all hanging around each other. And people don't realize, this is just open pedophilia. That's what Nickelodeon is. People when you see any of these clips from these shows, it just makes your stomach turn. Seeing these kids act like adults. Why is this channel even in existence? Well, it's in existence for the perverts, for the pedophiles, because the shows on these channels are filled with nothing but, Illuminati occultic symbolism. You see the spiral all the time. You see the pizza references. And they do this stuff out in the open through code. And then all of these disgusting, sick Satanists watch these shows and they get off to it. That's how sick this world is. That's how sick it's got. The fact that nobody questions, an adult posting pictures like this hanging around kids because they go, well, they work on a TV show together. Oh, so that makes it okay for this guy to be, no one thinks it's creepy behavior. Like if somebody told me, hey, there's a bunch of 8 and 12-year-olds that want to hang out. No thanks. No offense, kids, but I'm not interested. I don't want to hang out with anyone in general, but I would never hang around and hang out with children. It's disgusting. Doesn't mean I don't like kids. Obviously, I care for the children out there. I try to always make people aware of the trafficking rings and all that stuff. But no adult should be hanging around other people's kids. So Dan Schneider, after rumblings, which grew louder and louder, that one of Hollywood's biggest producers of children's entertainment is about to be outed as a major incubator for pedophile executives and their twisted manipulations, he was released from his contract or parted ways mutually. Dan Schneider is a former actor and producer at Nickelodeon. He's responsible for nearly every one of their biggest successes in the last 20 years. And you'll see these people. These are all people who you know of, who are now famous, and have obviously gone through the ringer. Now they're old. Now they're handlers themselves, probably. Schneider has produced and written the shows that have given breakout stars like Ariana Grande, Amanda Bynes, and Victoria Justice. Schneider has also been the subject of some very disturbing and consistent rumors for years. One need only search his name on the internet to find pretty damning rumors about him going back years. There are stories of his foot fetishes and how he acts them out on young extras alone in his office. Just look at this sick freak. There are stories about his relationships with his underage teenage stars and how they lead to spin-off shows for the girls or blacklisting for those who don't participate. I mean, look at some of these pictures. Look where his arm is around this little girl. She's like 5 years old, 6 years old. Just bizarre. One of the greatest examples of an alleged child predator producer is Dan Schneider. This is according to some forums on Reddit where people have been posting for years about him. He created and wrote Zoe 101, All That, Victorious, iCarly, The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and What I Like About You, and is the most successful writer, TV executive in children's entertainment television for the last 30 years. Allegedly, Robert Downey Jr. wrote the following statement about Dan Schneider on Crazy Days and Nights under the screen name Him. He's a monster, the worst predator alive, and if you wonder why nobody will confront or charge him, he's in charge of multiple hit shows for Nick, which rakes in oceans of money, tens of millions of dollars, manipulated by many years and many shows, not to mention his merchandising royalties. So Viacom, Nick warned him to cool it, then pay for his lawyers. What about the parents? No tweener parent who shoved their kid into the limelight from birth is going to cross him either and risk career suicide and loss of revenue and residuals and future career, no matter how bad it messes up the kids, especially if there's multiple kid actors in the family and the kids' agents are complicit too. Just ask the Spears family. A lot of settlements get paid out of Viacom's accounts. There have been rumors swirling about Dan Schneider for quite some time. Rumors he's the father of Jamie Lynn Spears' daughter. Rumors that he got Amanda Bynes pregnant and paid for her abortion and took the virginity of countless Nickelodeon starlets. This is sick. A quick Google search will show you how many people are catching on to this guy and questioning his innocence. There was also a post on Reddit about Schneider, and most of the comments highlight his creepy behavior and the fact that he is an alleged pedophile. One commenter even made the allegation about being paid $100 to have her feet tickled by him in the privacy of his office while working as an extra on The Amanda Show. Ugh. Much like a high-ranking priest, satanic priest, Dan Schneider will probably never get exposed, unfortunately, but that's showbiz. According to a girl who worked on Schneider's show, she said, "My friend was molested by that man on set. Everyone knew it. No one said a word." She also said that he told her she was too fat to be famous. She was 11. If Schneider is the monster people seem to believe he is, some things do fall into place. Jamie Lynn Spears was on track to eclipse her older sister in fame when she dropped out of Hollywood in disgrace because of her unplanned pregnancy. To this day, she has never said a word about the real father of her child. I mean, just sick stuff. Amanda Bynes is an extremely gifted performer, but tragically lost contact with reality for a while. That's because Amanda Bynes was a trauma-based mind control victim through, Nickelodeon, Disney, whatever. And, she had her breakdown. But you could see some of the tweets, too, posted by people like Amanda Bynes, where they're actually referencing this guy and being molested by him. But this stuff never makes the mainstream. You know why? Because there's an agenda behind it, right? That's what I was saying about the Me Too movement. It fit an agenda. It fit a narrative. The feminist movement, right? The Me Too movement. You think it's a coincidence that all these shows are coming back on TV, like Roseanne and Murphy Brown, these women's empowerment shows? The whole Harvey Weinstein thing fit that narrative. They would never want a story like this coming out, because then you really find out what's going on in Hollywood. It's not just, an isolated predator like Dan Schneider's molesting kids. These kids were trafficked to all the executives at Nick and probably other production studios who allowed these kids to be involved, in their shows, their movies, whatever they were filming. Hey, you want to get ahead? Hey, you do this, right? They trafficked them. They're probably involved in satanic rituals, some of the younger ones. This is really how Hollywood works. This is what it's really about. And there's a reason that instead of CNN and all these outlets questioning Dan Schneider and, doing articles about him and the creepy stories that are coming up and the allegations, instead all it takes is a tweet from somebody about Scott Baio or about some other, celebrity who is sexually harassed by a man, and it makes national news, right? All these allegations that are out there about this guy, it doesn't fit the narrative. See, they don't want to expose and bust these child trafficking rings that they have. They don't want to expose pedophilia and how rampant it is, not just in Hollywood, around the world, because it doesn't fit the narrative, because then they'd be exposing themselves. And why would they expose themselves, right? This is how it works, folks. Fits the narrative, they'll discuss it. And that's why instead of this stuff breaking and going viral and people hearing about it, this guy just quietly, mutually parts ways because they're getting nervous that the independent media, like Barstool, Sports Radio and stuff, there's a lot of outlets who have a huge following who are talking about this guy, who had heard rumors from people they knew. There's people there who were involved in Hollywood and got out of Hollywood but had heard about him. And they're afraid that independent media is going to expose it to the point where Nickelodeon might lose viewers or something might happen where there might be a lawsuit. So they just quietly pay him money and he goes away and he's still allowed to be a predator and live, out freely in the world. That's how it works. It's a disgusting, disgraceful, corrupt system that we live in. But people need to be aware of stuff like this, right? Because then you could just go, well, how come, all it takes is for a tweet about, Harvey, who are some of the other people who are alleged, right? One person saying something about Kevin Spacey, one person saying something, and then all of a sudden all this stuff just becomes huge national news. These people retire from their jobs, they get fired from their jobs, they go, fade into the sunset. All it takes is one person to make an accusation. There's no trial, there's nothing. None of the men denied anything, right? They just went along with the ride because it was part of the agenda, it was part of the Masonic Brotherhood. They were tapped on the shoulder and they were told, listen, this is what you're going to do. And they do it. That's how it works in the Brotherhood, right? But with this, you kidding me? This won't go national. This won't go out there because they're never going to expose this kind of stuff. But people are like, oh boy, can you believe it? They're cracking down on Hollywood. They're pushing the feminist movement, okay? They're never going to expose these satanic rings. They're just going to let people like this continue to walk. And this guy's out there freely. Lord knows what he's doing. None of us want to know, but the guy should probably be behind bars. Not probably, he should be. And at the very least, if you want to do due process with him, as if there aren't enough allegations out there about him, fine, do due process with him. But again, they cover this stuff up, they part ways mutually, they push him out of the limelight, and they go, oh, well, he doesn't work here anymore, so, right? And that's why nobody will report on it. I thank everybody for listening to today's show. I wanted to bring awareness to this, just how they work, folks. Just another day in the office for these people. Just more of the same crap. I thank you again for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.